I wonder what autistic people in the 30s and 40s did. Maybe it's time to start leaning on autism as a crutch and you adapt to the workplace instead of expecting it to adapt to you. Well, if you want to know what autistic people were doing when it comes to work in the 1930s and 40s, I can definitely give you some history about that. So, while autism has a long history of research and has obviously always existed, it wasn't until around 1943 when psychiatrist Leo Kenner officially recognized autism, but it was only in children. So, until then, autistic adults would be misdiagnosed with conditions like schizophrenia, and it wasn't until much later that autism was officially recognized in adults. What we do know is that in the 1940s, it became increasingly popular to institutionalize adults and children that were considered socially nonconforming or mentally defective. So many autistic adults weren't even seeing the light of day because they were in these hospitals where abuse, neglect, and overcrowding occurred. If you're interested in knowing more about the horrific conditions that disabled people were subject to while being in these facilities, I would definitely suggest looking into Willowbrook State School and Penhurst State School, among others. While the concept of eugenics was introduced in the 1800s, it started getting significant traction in the US in the early 1900s. I read this quote from Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, which was written in 1927. It is better for all of the world if instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime or to let them starve for their imbecility, society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind. 3 generations of imbeciles are enough, which hints at sterilization for those who couldn't contribute to the capitalist society. And by the 1930s, more than 30 states had laws for sterilization. Historians report over 60,000 people being sterilized, which included the lower class, racial and ethnic minorities, and people with disabilities, including those with autism. Now, as for the autistic adults that weren't isolated or killed, they heavily relied on working in areas within their special interests or jobs that required deep focus, repetition, and little socialization with the public. This included jobs like farming, bookkeeping, factory line work, and engineering. The autistic adults that were working still had to deal with overstimulation, work demands, and masking their autistic traits, and that can lead to depression, alcoholism, autistic burnout, and even suicide, with research showing autistic individuals to be 3 to 7 times more likely to die by suicide than the general population. Reality is that we adapt to the workplace every single day if we're even able to get our foot in the door at the expense of our mental and physical health.